This is Car Con Carne, presented by Alex Ross Art. Alex Ross, one of the all-time greats in the world of comics and graphic novels. You've seen his stuff everywhere. I mean, besides like DC and Marvel Comics, his work's been all over the mainstream. He did like an Academy Awards poster years ago. He is simply the best, and I would love it if you followed Alex on YouTube. He has his own YouTube page, and here's Alex Ross to tell you all about it.
Hi, this is Alex Ross. I appreciate you guys supporting our YouTube, and we create new content every week. I hope you will continue to support us, and please subscribe.
It's Car Con Carne. Let's eat in the car. It's Car Con Carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Ostel.
So here we are. It is Car Con Carne. I'm James Van Ostel. To my right, if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, that is Robin Taylor Zander. His solo debut album is The Distance, available now. And Robin Zander, in addition to putting out this solo album, he plays rhythm guitar in Illinois' favorite band, Cheap Trick, making him one of two Robin Zanders in the band. And joining RTZ in the car, we have nothing less than a Grammy Award-winning producer. He's an engineer. He is Jack Douglas. And I brought visual aids because I swear, Jack, just saying this doesn't drive the point home well enough. I want to just share on screen what this man has done. Not that he needs it, but oh my God. Toys in the Attic by Aerosmith. On Your Feet, on Your Knees, Blue Oyster Cult. Zebra. Who's Behind the Door? What a monster song. Local H, local favorites. Here Comes the Zoo. Side D, in fact, that's your side on this record. Speaking of Cheap Trick, the debut. Aerosmith rocks. Oh my God, Back in the Saddle. Holy crap. At Budokan. Holy Muscle of Love. Alice Cooper. Also, I think this is probably Alice Cooper's best album, $1 Billion Babies. Yeah. Some might argue that. And of course, the big one, oh my gosh, Double Fantasy, John and Yoko. Not a bad little resume. In fact, you really are probably too qualified to be here. You're going to have to leave.
I feel like I should leave. I should leave too.
Right? So we're outside Loud Pizza Records in Highland Park. You're doing an in-store here today. You are out and about promoting this record. I want to get into it. I want to talk about what's on this album. I want to find my notes as well. Oh, here we go. This car's a little intimate, Robin. Too. Yeah. Let's talk about who you are as an artist. Was it a foregone conclusion that you would always be a performer just being in the family you're in? Was this predetermined before you were even born?
Yeah, probably. I'd say it was determined at an early age. I'm not sure what exact age, but I grew up watching Cheap Trick play. I would stand on the side of the stage and mimic what everyone was doing. They give me a pair of drumsticks, and I would bang away on a road case and try to be Bunny Carlos. So that was my foray into rock music, was watching them, be a really one of the best live bands of all time, and I got to see that front and center for my whole childhood.
So you never considered being a shoe salesman or...
Other than golf, that's about it. That's all I like, golf and music.
So I guess let's start. The Venn diagram between the two of you really does intersect at Cheap Trick. So Jack produced At Budokan, found all the parts, the self-titled album, Standing on the Edge. Robin, you've been playing with Cheap Trick for a decade?
About 7 years, yeah.
So it was probably a foregone conclusion that you two would click in some way, shape, or form, but Jack, you said, I want to put out your album. How did that all come together for you guys?
Robin's dad called me. I mean, we're like family, the Cheap Trick, and I go to quite a few shows, and we hang out. Anyway, Robin said to me, I'd like you to listen to my son's work. I think he said that he's really special, different than me, and I think you would enjoy it. Funny thing is, I had come across Robin's work early with his one of his bands. What was it called?
Smile.
Because of the Keach connection. I ended up at one of the Keach. What was his father's name?
James
James
Keach.
Keach. I ended up at his house in California, and he was playing me music of Robin's band. I thought it was really good. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, that was about 10 years ago, probably.
Yeah, and so I was somewhat familiar with what he was doing, but not. I had no idea that it was going in the direction that it was going with Robin as a solo artist. So when his father said this is something special, I knew that I had to listen. And we started communicating a little over a year ago when we were just getting the label up and running. And finally the record was finished. I got to mix it, and we got it going on the record, and we've been promoting it, and Robin's been doing his work, especially with social media and PR. That's a hard road, and he's
Oh my God, yeah.
but he's a road warrior because he's been doing it with Cheap Trick for so long. So it's great. It's signing someone, and I didn't have to teach them the ropes,
Which is nice.
Yeah, that's great.
When you write songs, first of all, I think people will listen to this album, The Distance, and they're going to look for lines to Cheap Trick, sonically, aesthetically. They're harder to find here. If anything, I hear lines back to the bands that probably influenced Cheap Trick, more so than Cheap Trick.
Yeah, I can agree with that. It's not obvious, if you listen to it, like, oh, this guy comes from that kind of background. But you hear the 60s kind of British Invasion, 70s classic rock. I mean, I do hear a little bit of Cheap Trick and stuff like Down and Out or Eyes on the Prize, some of the tracks on the record. But for the most part, it sounds like me just because I was living in Nashville and I was writing a lot of songs on acoustic guitar, and I was just influenced by what was around me at the time. So this record is a lot of the songs are from that time period when I was living in Nashville.
Let's jump into it. You mentioned Down and Out. I think that's my favorite song on the album. And I actually posted something last night because I was listening to it more intently. Those horns, to me, sound like there's something straight out of 1974 David Bowie Diamond Dogs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the vibe. That's what we were going for. I did it up in the Catskills with Kenny Siegel, who owns Old Soul Studios, and we co-produced the record together. And that was his idea of putting that horn solo at the end, for sure. And we had a lot of great horn players that came and guested on the record and played pretty much all the way through it. So,
and you bore the brunt of the work here. I mean, you did most of this work. You're a multi-instrumentalist. I mean, you really, these are your visions through and through.
Well, looking at the LP right now, on the back artwork, you can see me playing every instrument.
Yep.
So, if you buy the record, there's the proof in the pudding right there.
We can see you playing every instrument. We can see you with a French bulldog.
Yep, that's always important. Got to have Ziggy in there.
Ziggy.
Yes.
It all comes back to Bowie, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. There's a connection.
Thinking of British Invasion, High and Low, such an obvious, catchy song. The harp makes an appearance on that.
Yeah, the harp's all over it. Michaela Davis played the harp on half the record.
The world needs more harp.
I'd say.
It's heavenly.
Again, that was Kenny. Kenny, he had a lot of friends up in the New York, upstate New York area.
Well, it was Woodstock area,
yeah.
So there are a lot of musicians up
Tons.
there.
So, I mean, we were lucky to have a lot of people play saxophone, trumpet, trombone, baritone, sax, cello, pedal steel, harp.
I love it.
You name it.
Thinking of British Invasion, in my head, I heard Waterloo Sunset by the Kinks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally.
Okay, not imagining that.
No, that's very influenced by that song, for
And
sure.
you sing the shit out of that song.
I try my worst.
He gets to show his range.
Yeah,
which
it
is
is.
great.
Yeah, for sure. As
High and low, like the high range and the low range, That's the musical meaning.
As far as videos go, I mean, these are literal performance videos that you do. And I'm assuming, not to put words in your mouth, but I'm assuming the idea is, well, let the music kind of speak for what we're doing here.
Yeah, for sure.
And speaking of the videos, The Distance, the title track of the brand new album, the vibe is very Americana and very cool on that one. It's just a little bit different from the other videos you put out so far.
You're talking about the acoustic.
Yeah.
Yeah, the acoustic versions are cool because that's just how I wrote the songs, So you're hearing it like as if it were written, 5 minutes ago.
We just put out The Distance with the orchestra.
Yeah, also the orchestral version of The Distance is very, very cool.
That's awesome.
People should check
And
it
it's
out.
got harp.
Yep.
I'm telling you.
You can never lose with the harp.
It's been a couple hundred years, but we're ready for the comeback of the harp.
That's right. It's really useful to double something with a harp and another stringed instrument. It sounds pretty cool.
As I listen to the album, Robin, lyrically at least, it sounds like, from start to finish, it sounds like someone who's trying to understand where he fits in relationships, in the world. Is that fair?
That's very fair. I think that's a lot of people too,
Well, yeah, which makes this something that's really easy to connect with.
Relatable, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the songs are pretty generic, but they do speak to things that everyone goes through every day, I think.
Well, what am I to do? Well, tell a lie or tell the truth. Every damn day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
And what am I to do? I think this is a great... I'm a big fan of album sequencing. This is why I'm so glad Jack is here. I mean, I think it's important to really thread that journey from start to finish, which is why I think Down and Out is such a great song. It's like perfectly positioned. I think in terms of records, like that's the perfect song to kick off the B-side. But What Am I to Do, to me, it seems like as good a mission statement to open the album as possible. Like, here's who I am, here's what you're going to hear for the next 11 songs. Or whatever.
For sure. In regards to sequencing the record, me and Kenny had ideas, grandiose ideas, and then my dad put together a track listing, and for the most part, this is his track listing, for the most part. And he was right, I think, because What Am I to Do is a great way to start it, and I thought Seize the Day was a great way to end it, end it on a positive note, and the most positive song ends it, and the most like let's insert some question into it is What Am I to Do, so.
I like that Robin thinks that way because
Yeah.
This is the way I've always felt about an album. Unfortunately, not many people listen to albums anymore and listen through them, but I always felt that it was almost a cinematic experience that you had to have. There was a beginning and an end, there was a middle, there was the point when you flipped the album over, and you absorbed what you just listened to, and now you got back into it, which is why rock starts with Back in the Saddle. Just those kind of things. Like, I'm back here. I just want to let you know. And Double Fantasy starts with starting over. So for me, it's always been nice. It's always been cinematic, an experience. Unfortunately, an experience that not many people prefer to have anymore.
See, well, that was what I was going to ask. Do you really think that? I feel like things are coming back around. I feel the a la
I
carte,
hope so.
the a la carte way of delivering singles and songs. I think that will always be there from now on. But I do think, we're outside a record store. People will go in and they'll buy full-length records. I don't think it's just to look cool on a shelf. I think once you buy it, you take it home and play it, and there's something to be said for that very immersive. When you put on a record, you're listening to the good and bad. You're in it. Like, you're not getting up to re-cue it. You are in it for 20 minutes at a time. And I think there's something that people, later generations than you and me, Jack, I think there are people who are coming around to that, and it's a really thrilling way to consume music.
A lot of young people are rediscovering that experience, and you have 15 and 16-year-olds talking about Led Zeppelin and the Beatles, and that, that's promising.
Yeah, there was a time in the mid-teens, let's say, when I would look at critics' top 10 album lists for the year. I'm like, I don't even know if artists think in terms of albums anymore. But I think artists do more so now than they did 10 years ago. I think...
Maybe. I hope so.
Everything comes around again, right?
Yeah.
Everything's cyclical in its own...
That's the way we want to build the label. So I hope so.
And you're building the label starting with this. This is ground zero. For
Actually, no. Ground zero is the Detroit Youth Choir,
that's so cool.
which came in second place on America's Got Talent. But even more exciting is that Disney is doing a show called Choir based on them, which starts January or February 1st, a mini-series called Choir. And what I did was, they just excited me, and I've never done a gospel record. And so I did it in Detroit, and I did like classic R&B and with those kids. And it's a beautiful album, a completely different experience than this, but something that is both spiritual through classic R&B, not through classic spirituals, and uplifting and makes you feel good.
I love that you're still challenging yourself.
Yeah, well, I've been doing a lot of film work, scoring. I've been working recently with Marty Scorsese and Ron Howard, and I've got a couple of films in the. Well, I've done a lot of film composition. Got a couple in the festival circuit now, and Robin has got a song on one of them.
Something
called
that
Trust and Love.
Okay, so something that's not on the album.
It's on the album.
No, it's all of our troubles. All our
Oh yeah,
troubles,
yeah.
It's in the credit crawl at the end, which is a nice spot because you get to hear a lot of it.
That has the pedal steel and the cello and all that good stuff. That's it sounds like a lot of things. It sounds Americana. It sounds indie rock. It sounds pop. It sounds familiar, but also really hard to pin down at the same time.
Yeah, the production on it is totally Americana-esque. We put pedal steel on half the record and violin and a little organ here and there. But I mean, for the most part, it's just an honest representation where I was for those 5 years that I was living in Nashville, and the next record that I do will probably sound completely different, and that's the point,
We start in January at my studio in L.A.
So you're not letting grass grow under your feet at all.
No, I got plenty of material.
Yeah.
Why not put it out?
Yeah.
It's ready to go.
Thinking again about sequencing, again, the album, it's out now, it's been out, it's The Distance. One Might Wonder, which is the shortest song on the album, it almost feels, again, thinking about threading that story all the way through, it feels like a bridge between The Distance and All Our Troubles. Even the way it ends feels like an ellipsis.
Yeah. I actually just played that song last night. We did a gig over at G-Man next to the Metro in Chicago, and I ended the set with that song, One Might Wonder, and it was kind of like an ellipsis in the set list that I did. So
let's talk a little bit about the cover. I don't think there has been a more Midwest-looking cover released in 2023. Just this is a scene that is very familiar to anyone living in Illinois. The snow-covered cars and streets. When you wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to work or walk the dog or whatever, you think, oh crap, that's an hour out of my life of shoveling on the way.
fantastic.
Edgar Gerrans, who's a really fine artist, did that. He's also he's a Midwesterner, by the way. He lives in New York, but he's a Midwesterner. But the inspiration for that cover is an early Bob Dylan cover. Only he's walking in the snow in the street in New York.
Yeah.
And this could be Rockford for all we know.
It could be Americana, USA.
Americana,
Yeah,
which is lovely anytime.
Wherever you wish it to be.
He is traveling the distance there.
That's right.
Thinking about the different textures and sounds and influences and the places you go on this album, Robin, Golden Rule, total 70s vibes on this one. Treat others as you'd want to be treated. There's the lesson there.
Yeah, pretty generic, like I said earlier, but everyone can relate to that.
Everyone can relate to that. So you brought an acoustic guitar. Well, you're doing an in-store. You had no choice. But you're going to try and play in this car.
Oh, yeah.
Try it. You're going to succeed.
I am going to.
Yes, you are. What are you going to do?
Well, I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have to do two from the record because we're talking about the record. So
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe a couple of the singles if you guys wanted to hear those,
Yes.
or if there's something that you specifically want to hear, I could maybe.
I want you to play what you think you'll be most comfortable doing in this car.
Gotcha.
Whatever you think you can pull off.
Yeah.
All right, before we drag the guitar in, Jack, 3 quick questions for you. I promise they'll be quick.
Sure.
We all know what a producer is, someone who produces an album. I don't think we really understand what goes on. I mean, to me, and you can tell me if this is completely off base, to me a producer sees artists at their most vulnerable and most creative. Is that fair?
Yeah.
You see them at...
we discuss a vision for what they want to do, and for a producer, very much like a film director, it's my job to make that vision come true. It's never my vision. I help as much as I can, and I kind of direct how we can get that vision to be true. So a lot of things. It depends on the artist. Sometimes I'm co-writing. Always I'm in the studio getting a sound that works for it. Having been an engineer, that really helps a lot. And having been a working musician helps a lot. So I can, I understand what the artist wants to do, but it differs. In Robin's case, all I had to do was mix it. I'm absolutely fine with Robin producing himself because he really gets it. He gets it right, and then I just get to mix it, which is what I love to do also. But things like the Detroit Youth Choir, I produced that, and that's a hands-on thing where
Sure.
and it was different. That was a combination of, I had a Detroit rock rhythm section, and then the rest was herding cats, which was a lot of fun because they were kids.
Yeah.
So all those things. Working with Aerosmith, that means co-writing and arranging, and working with John. He gave me more freedom than I could ever imagine, like in doing arrangements and writing charts, and so it's always different. But it's more like you're the director of a film than you are the producer of the film.
That makes sense. By the way, it surprised me when I saw Joe Perry play earlier this year. He did a song off Rockin' a Hard Place.
Yeah.
Which I thought was...
He wasn't on it.
Right.
It was Rick Tefay and
That's what I thought was so weird. I just assumed he probably wanted nothing to do with that in his head, like that. Not my album, not my band for that time, but it sounded great.
Yeah, I did a few records. Then, of course, his latest album, Sweetser Manifesto, Johnny Depp and I produced, which was a lot of fun.
I bet.
And Robin Sr. is on the record.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
As well as David Johansen.
Jeez. Oh yeah, because you worked with the Dolls back in the day too. Yeah.
And later in their comeback album, I produced. Terry Reid is on that record. God. Now there's a blast from the past.
Quick Aerosmith question. As far as riffs go, Walk This Way versus Draw the Line, which is the better one?
I prefer draw the Line because it's just so hard edged. Walk This Way is really classic R&B feel, but which one is more popular?
Well, yeah, for sure.
Come on, but Walk This Way. I mean, that changed. It's also later tied rock to rap and was responsible for some major changes.
For sure. I have to ask about John Lennon. What was he like as a person? This is something I would love to know.
Well, I knew him for quite a long time because I worked on Imagine as an engineer, and I got to be friends with him during that period. He was a different person then than he was. I've had this discussion with the late Jeff Emmerich many times, and he said to me, "I wish I knew the John that you knew," because Jeff knew the angry John and the impatient John, and I knew the kind of happy to be doing it again John, and the relaxed and the dad and husband John. And we just had a blast making a record. I knew him as a friend as well as an artist, so it was, and I knew how to stay ahead of him. I once asked him, of all the producers you could have had for a comeback album, this is, giant that you're doing this. Why me? Not that I'm insecure, but I just,
Yeah.
He said, good antenna. You know what, you anticipate what I want to do. So,
Amazing.
What was he like? I usually say this. Most of his fans know exactly what it was like because his truth about him was always in his songs. So one of the reasons why it was so terrible for his fans to lose him was because they felt like they lost someone they really knew. Because they did. They knew him through his music. And his music, again, a question I asked him one time, how do you write such good music? And he said, write the truth and make it rhyme.
That's awesome. Robin, did you grow up listening to the Beatles? Was that? I mean, it sounds.
Yeah,
It sounds like
absolutely. Yeah, it's my favorite band of all time, and probably always will be.
Is there a song that connects with you more than any other?
Oh, so many. Maybe more records. I like Revolver and Rubber Soul and the White Album, and there's some favorites in there for sure, but it's too hard to peg
sure.
one down.
I remember listening to the White Album on headphones and fantasizing that I would one day work with the Beatles, and I've worked with all four of them.
You manifested it.
Yeah.
That's
It's so
amazing.
weird that sometimes, as Steven said to me one day, "Are we living in it?" Steven Tyler. We were on the Rock and Roller Coaster down in Orlando,
That's amazing.
which is in all Aerosmith
Yeah.
songs. I programmed that thing. I wrote it 100 times to get it right. But there was a time when we were in the studio and we were sitting under the piano, and Steven said to me, "This success feels like a dream." And we got off the roller coaster, and Steven said to me, "A roller coaster with our music in Disneyland." And he said to me, "Jack, do you think we're still dreaming?" Well, should we let Robin get back here?
100%. We're going to put Robin in the back seat.
Look, he's got two mics, one for his guitar.
Yeah.
Vocal.
Perfect.
Perfect.
I'm setting it up for you, Robin.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jack.
Thanks for getting to work. All right, we're going to pause this, and then we'll pick it up with Robin playing guitar and singing in the car. OMG.
That was great.
Okay, as promised, Robin Taylor Zander in the back seat. He's going to play. Go for it.
Let out a sigh for the first time when I'm alone, all by myself. Get up when you're down, laugh when you frown, trying to be someone else. Ain't what I planned for myself, ain't what I planned for myself. One might wonder, how did we manage to get here, in this place and time where we've arrived? One might wonder if we're willing and able to live side by side in a world so unstable. How did we manage to get here, in this place and time where we've arrived? One might wonder if we're willing and able to live side by side in a world so unstable. Well, who am I? Who am I to be unkind? To be unkind. Well, who am I? To be unkind. To be unkind. everything becomes clear to me on a cloudy day. I feel so close to you when I'm so far away, but I know now the road that I'm taking to the place that I'm going, to the one that I love. I was looking for the answer, try to find a perfect melody. How could I ever have missed it? You were always there in front of me. I was sitting on the shoreline, looked across the sea. I thought of everything that mattered. You meant so much to me, but I know now that road that I'm taking to the place that I'm going, to the one that I love. I was looking for the answer, trying to find a perfect melody. How could I ever have missed it? You were always there in front of me. Now I know that the road I'm taking, the place I'm going is to the one I love. Well, I was looking for the answer, try to find a perfect melody. How could I ever have missed it? You were always there in front of me. I was looking for your answer, try